Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I'm so glad that you're joining me again because today we're going to be expanding our discussion a little bit about the next gen. Also, I just want to say that we're already less than a week away from getting our hands on the PS5 and Xbox Series X, and I gotta say that I can't wait. For those who don't already know, the Xbox Series X is actually scheduled for release in stores on Tuesday, November 10th, 2020. And meanwhile, the PS5 won't be too far behind because it launches on Friday, November 13th, 2020. Which is pretty good. You get the whole weekend to experience these things. There's already a lot of pre-launch buzz building around the PS5, mostly because of what we're seeing with the controller and the games. Now, I know last time I didn't delve in great detail regarding these two subjects, so humor me a bit and allow me a chance to elaborate on what I'm hoping to see in the coming years. Grab a drink, grab a nice soft warm pillow, and let's get into this. So, to start off with, both consoles are shipping with fundamentally the same overall controller setup. Nothing related to motion sensing, at least not yet, like the Wii and Wii U used. As far as grip conformity, I'm expecting more or less a very similar experience. What I'm noticing though, out of most of the coverage that I've seen, is with regards to the PS5 that Sony is aiming for a very different approach to haptic feedback than the more traditional Xbox Series X controller. Normally we're accustomed to dual motor functions on any typical controller, right? But the thing is, if you were to pick up and use an Xbox One controller, essentially it's going to be the same experience as picking up an Xbox Series X controller. Not too much has changed. You have your traditional rumble motors on each side, as well as some rumble around the triggers to get you immersed in the experience. Whether that be a shooter, an RPG, or anything else you might imagine playing. The PS5, though, has these DualSense controllers that appear to be evolving our expectations a little bit for the next gen. So I'll start off by saying, I love the Xbox Series S controller. Form and function, it is superb, and I like the old saying that goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I won't elaborate too much on it because it's fundamentally unchanged from the last generation, but that's not to say Sony is taking the same approach. I've been using the PS4 controller since the last gen console released back in 2013. And it was also a well-designed piece of kit. Sony could have done the same thing. They could have easily taken the same approach as Xbox and just reused a similar setup as the Xbox and not revolutionize any aspect. But what's so awesome to me is that Sony's actually going out on a limb and taking a chance. They decided to go back to the drawing board and see if they could come up with something, and I actually think that they're really going to pay off with it. I'm not a Sony fanboy, remember? In the last video I said that you don't have to rush out and get these next-gen consoles. To be honest, it all comes down to your individual circumstances. But still, like owning a gaming PC and knowing what Sony has in the PS5 DualSense controller, it really gets me excited for that November 13th launch. So, I bet you're wondering, why? Why am I so excited about a controller? Well, to put it bluntly, Sony is going to try to make games behave more like an extension of the real world. What do I mean by that? Well, shooters will feel more lifelike, archery will feel more lifelike, and basically any action that leads to using the triggers will feel much better now with the DualSense controller because it's using adaptive tension. So adaptive tension means you get a more tactile feel to everything. I'm actually hoping that not only will first-party developers use this feature, but rather any third-party developer has a contract with Sony to begin with, like Activision's Call of Duty. I gotta admit though that the tension will be really good for shooters, really good for archery games, anything like that where you're expecting tension or resistance to be applied to the context you're putting into action in game. So you gotta imagine that it's a really cool idea, but it's not just the triggers that are changing, but the vibration motors in the controller too. And we'll talk about that in a second. Before that though, let's take a little break, alright? Get up, stretch your legs, then come back and we'll discuss about the next gen titles that are coming to both systems. So, if I'm being honest, based on experience, there's always a few franchises, right, that make at least one appearance in every generation. I gotta say, I'm not exactly talking about Call of Duty or Halo, but rather Resident Evil and Final Fantasy. Now, allow me to make some predictions here and there in this video to amp up anyone who's on the sidelines, but looking to jump in this gen in the future. I'm willing to bet, right, that this gen will see the next entry in the Final Fantasy VII Remakes timeline. I'm also expecting, ultimately a new Metal Gear Solid game. I know it's crazy, but think about it. Konami has intellectual properties that already have well-established fan bases. It doesn't have to be a new entry into the series, but rather a remake of a classic in the series like, Metal Gear Solid 3, my personal favorite. Although ultimately, now that we're on this subject of Konami and the next gen, I'm gonna make an even bigger prediction. Now call me crazy, but a new Silent Hill game, multi-platform, and not a remake, but a new entry in the series would be great. Grant me an opportunity, right, to indulge your curiosity for a second. Silent Hill's taken on by the team that brought you Dark Souls, which is From Software, with a little shift to role-playing survival horror, most likely centered around the origins of Silent Hill, but with a time travel mechanic where events in the past, maybe directly influence the future. You travel to and vice versa. This could lead to, dualities where maybe one puzzle needs an artifact from the past to solve in the future. Old characters will resurge as guides through the murky atmosphere of Silent Hill with a wise and dry wit to their dialogue. Because, of course, they've been here before. All I'm saying, is imagine the possibilities. It's a big opportunity. I don't know why it would be a bad idea to collaborate with a well-known dev, because it's going to get everybody talking again about your games. And this is a great opportunity to really expand on that. So I thought that was a good idea. And I'm hopefully predicting that it's true. I want to talk a little bit about Xbox too. Not to leave them out, since Microsoft recently purchased Bethesda Softworks. I'm actually really excited about this. First off, because now we'll see Fallout 5 on a much bigger budget than before. But, more importantly, because Fallout 5 doesn't have to be what you expect it to be anymore. So, imagine this. Imagine Fallout New Vegas 2. It can be more enticing than a Fallout 5 for some, including me, because it's a world that deserves reinvesting time in. This, it works. It's a good idea because if Microsoft owns Bethesda, they can collaborate with Obsidian Entertainment, which are the originators of the Fallout franchise. And it just so happens to be one of their first-party studios, and really set the stage for some. It might really set the stage for some original Fallout content, I think. I gotta say though, Microsoft has so many chips, right, stacked in its corner right now, because it's not just a matter of buying studios for their intellectual properties. It's not just that, but rather the expectation of what to expect from a studio like Bethesda. This is a really good thing for Microsoft in order to get that Xbox brand back on people's lips. But ultimately, I just want to go back for a second now. Now let's go back and let's finish up talking about the DualSense controller. The reason I'm discussing this last is because it's all about expectations, right? Like, we've been talking about expectations of a new Silent Hill game, Fallout New Vegas 2, and this whole console generation has to ultimately think bigger and be better than the last. And what's great about the next gen is that Sony wants you to embrace the next gen literally in the palm of your hands. Like haptic feedback vibration, which is what the DualSense controller is touting. It will allow you to feel like the lightning in your hands. the sensation of, imagine, right, like I never used the DualSense controller yet. Hopefully one day I can get the PS5. But imagine the sensation of walking on different surfaces, and it can be measured in vibrations. It's really all limited to the developer's imagination. That's what the next gen is all about. I really can't wait to get my hands on it next week. Well, hopefully, God willing. Well, ultimately, that's all I wanted to talk to you guys about today. So, brief wrap up. This is going to be the last episode of the series, Next Gen Discussion. Let me know if you guys have any ideas for new videos in the future. If you like this video, please give it a like. If you didn't like it, give it a dislike. I know also, by the way, I didn't discuss like the menus and the accessories, but hopefully as time goes on, I'll try to review these things in upcoming videos so, we can share our thoughts and experiences in greater detail together. I really appreciate you guys watching this video. Hope you liked it, and I'll see you in the next one.